You'll just identify yourself for the record where you live, please.
My name is David Howe.
I'm sorry.
We live at 101 Bob White Lane. It's a corner of Bob White Lane. Y'all agency growing up in a resolution since 1986. Gene, I voted for you the first time you ran. My next door neighbor, Shelby Michael, came through the neighborhood and asked everybody in the neighborhood to support you, Gene. We all gave one, so you get elected DI. I voted for you. Maybe I wish I hadn't. I voted for you too. Okay? The rest of you all, I don't know you. Okay? But the one thing I want y'all to understand is this. I moved originally to get out of Jackson, what's happening in Jackson. Okay? I can't believe you guys can't sit here and look not even a mile from here and look at County Line Road. Is that what y'all want to happen to Highland County Parkway? When I first moved to Ridgeland, the western part of it wasn't even Ridgeland. I had to testify in court, Gene, for all of y'all, so that when we first moved here on Old Lazy Road, we were Madison County. Okay? Then we became the city of Jackson. Then we testified for Ridgeland to be taken into Ridgeland in what's it called, the re-annexation case. Remember when all that stuff happened? Now, y'all want to take people like us who have come up here and invested money. I moved my business up here in 2007. I'm really perturbed at that. Not only do I pay taxes in Ridgeland as a citizen, now I pay property taxes for my business up here, and I got 20 people who work in there. That makes me extremely angry that y'all would do what you're about to do to us people who live there. And the other thing that irritates me more than anything else, all I've heard so far tonight is everybody's got a dollar, money, and all these people, they don't care about people who live here, or you or me, Gene, or any of the rest of them. They're all about making money up here. It's totally irrelevant to them what the quality of life for me is, or you, or anybody else. Gene, I thought you liked the bicycle paths. I thought you liked the walking paths. And look, I'm not against Costco. I think Costco's a great store. They're a great company. But look, the roundabout's bad enough as it is right now. I go through it every morning, every afternoon, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. So we're saying we're going to get 8,000 people in the roundabout now, and y'all going to increase the roundabout to 20,000 people? Have you ever been in the roundabout when somebody's going in the thing the wrong direction? I have. Come on, guys.
I've been through
What are y'all going to do when 18-wheelers are coming down Highland Colony and delivering to whatever they're going to deliver to and trying to go through the roundabout with all kinds of cars? Have any of y'all even dreamed about that? I'm blown away. And the other thing I want to say, this I'll be finished, okay? Y'all are public elected officials, okay? People, citizens like me, we vote for y'all. Okay? So there's a real good way we can cease all this kind of crap going in Ridgeland. I mean, I don't have a dog in this thing. I'm not trying to make money off this thing. I'm trying to do the right thing for Ridgeland. And I'm getting 100% opinion that what y'all are doing and what y'all are getting ready to vote on, you're not doing the right thing for Ridgeland. That's my opinion, okay? And I'm sorry. I feel sorry for Ridgeland, and I feel sorry for what's going on with this board and the mayor. And I'm really not happy with any of y'all concerning any of this stuff.
Pat Truesdale, if you wish to speak. You identify yourself for the record and your address.
Okay, I'm Pat Truesdale. I live at 306 West Porter Street. I'm speaking as an individual, but I also am a member of the Ridgeland Historical Society. And the Ridgeland Historical Society has been trying very specifically to preserve the history that we have here in Ridgeland. And this area south of the Natchez Trace is an area that was instrumental in a lot of the things that happened in Ridgeland with the commerce that was happening down the trace. The master plan specifically addresses our future, and we must consider our history in order to properly advance. While we desire positive progress for our great city, we caution all to examine how the city's character and land use will be impacted if large commercial development is allowed in areas not previously zoned as such. We must preserve our history and the Richland Historical Society requests input in ongoing projects relating to commercial development within the city. We desire to work together with the city, our aldermen, and developers to enhance Richland's viability as we record our history now and in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Truesdale. Steve Maloney, did you wish to address?
Just briefly.
Come on, if you would, please. State your name and record and address.
I'll be real brief. The issues that we've discussed, as far as from a legal
Your
standpoint,
name, address.
excuse me, Steve Maloney, 448 Greenwood Lane.
Thank you, Steve.
The issues that we have discussed all relate back to one factual issue, and that is, why are we talking about these amendments? And I think that the record is very clear that it's about Costco. We've heard, we've looked at numerous different emails, and I would invite you to look back at those. We're about to hear a rebuttal related to the argument of why we have these amendments in this proposal. And I would invite you to ask a couple of questions as to how those arguments dovetail with all the emails that we've had added to the record. And that's the only one I have.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney. Ronnie Johnson.
I'm Ronnie Johnson. I live at 103 Windsor Court. Thank you for letting me speak to you. I have lived in Richland 12 years. I would have been happy to live in Jackson all my life. However, property values were deteriorating, quality of life was deteriorating, and there are many safety concerns. Many of your citizens are here because of that reason. Your growth in this town is part of that. I moved to Richland, and Brian, this is not disrespecting you, but I've never called anything but Richland. You know, I've never said West. I never knew there was anything. Is there a divide in the city? If there is, it's a problem. You know, if that's the case, there needs to be a town of West Richland, as opposed to us being Richland. But I've always called myself, I lived in Richland. It was proud to live here and thought you gentlemen who had been on the board were doing a good job. Now, just like what is happening on the national scene today, there is a lot of distrust of public officials. I mean, how in the world can some of the candidates in the presidential election now be viable because of distrust? Here's several points made about how magnanimous some of the landowners were to put Highland Colony in there, and therefore, yeah, it's going to develop. Well, certainly, if things develop, they weren't magnanimous. Look, they benefit from a road beyond their property. I mean, that's access. It increases the value of the property. As far as gas stations, I've lived here 12 years. I had no problem not being a gas station. I didn't say when I would move, you know, I'd like to live in Richland, but that's not a gas station. I will tell you this. If the circumstances were today, I built a house, sold a house, bought another house in Richland. Circumstances were today, and I was in Jackson, I would tell you, I would be happy just to live a little farther up the road to Madison. Because I do believe that, you know, they've done some things that are quite obvious. Sure, they've got a big box up there. Boy, look where Sam's is located. Look at it. Does it have any residential interference? No. Does it have all the arteries it needs? Yes. I mean, it's clear cut. I mean, anybody, I'm a master's degree city planner. I'm here as a citizen. I can see it from that perspective, and I can see it from a common sense citizen perspective. Now, you gentlemen, as a rotten neighbor, you can say, one day when you quit doing what you're doing, I was a mayor or a councilman at the zenith of the height of Richland. You also, if this package is right here, and this becomes another county line road, you can say, I was there when the devise of Richland began. Gentlemen, I asked you to be honest, re-examine yourselves in what you're doing because your constituents do not agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Karen Bush, you wish to-
My name is Karen Bush, and I live at 454 Greenwood Lane. I'll be brief. A copy of this document was presented to each of you prior to this meeting several months ago, but I wanted it to enter into the record. It contains over 2,400 signatures of Richland residents that oppose the effective rezoning and use of the property in question for what it was not intended.
If you'll bring that in. We're going to mark it as Exhibit 17, and we will make an extra copy for the court report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Judy Blanks, did you wish to address the board?
Yes.
You'll come on.
My name is Judy Rice. I live at 436 Greenwood Lane. I just have a question, I guess, just for, make sure I understand this correctly. The map that was presented earlier, with all the property that was eligible for a master plan development, does this actually mean that every 15 acres we could have a big box and a service station and drive-throughs all along Highland Parkway? Is that what that would mean? No, sir? If it's all eligible, actually the C2 property that you're talking about for Costco is eligible for 2 master plan developments, the way we had at the time. Is that not correct?
I think in theory that's correct.
Is that not right, you guys? We could have master plan service stations all over the Highland Parkway every 15 acres.
I think that's one of the reasons that does not happen.
How can you say no if it's done that way?
If you read the document, I believe the document speaks to it.
I have read the document, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Niels, I'm sorry.
Members of the board, I'm Niels Mungan. I live at 210 Valley Road in Dinsmore. I don't have much to add to the cogent remarks that most of the others have already made, but I think we need to ask ourselves 3 questions. First of all, in essence, why does the city want a Costco? Mainly because of the tax revenues it will generate. However, there are 2 large problems with this answer. A, if Costco is developed in the proposed location that's been tailor-made for it, the city may not see sales tax for up to 15 years due to the CRA rebates. And that's presuming the Costco is still in business in 15 years, unlike the Best Buy, Circuit City, Haverty's, Barnes & Noble's original location, Kmart. B, the part of Richland west of the interstate has neighborhoods with high assessed property values. It's really the only remaining direction the city can grow. However, access to most of those neighborhoods is only via one-lane road, one lane each way. Those roads are Old Agency Road and Old Agency Parkway. Because of the Natchez Trace and other buffers, those roads cannot be widened. A Costco in the proposed location would choke traffic on both of those roads as they intersect Highland Colony. This would not only erode the tax base of the current neighborhoods, but prevent future development to the west. This erosion of current and future property tax revenues would more than offset any gain from Costco. Number 2, why does Costco want to locate in Ridgeland? Because of desirable demographics. However, the demographics will not remain desirable if West Ridgeland ceases to be a desirable place to live, which I think it will be if there's a Costco right next to its only main intersection and only way out. Number 3, why should someone who doesn't represent or live in West Ridgeland care? Zoning laws are promises to homeowners that protect their most valuable possession. In fact, they're more than promises. In a sense, they're legally binding contracts. A threat to one ward is a threat to all wards in Ridgeland. If city officials can be allowed to break their promises and sacrifice 4,000 citizens' interests in one ward for a questionable amount of dollars for a handful of special interests, they can do the same thing to you, and ultimately they will do the same thing to you. Thank you.
Susan Holly, you wish to speak?
I'm Susan Halton, 161 Rolling Meadows Road in Ridgeland, since 1989. Thank you all, Mayor and Board, for letting me speak. It was 8 years ago this month that you all adopted the Ridgeland Area Master Plan, and I was pleased to serve as the chairman of that committee. Citizens acted in good faith to give input and to develop that important tool and guide. And Alan mentioned various sites' unique characteristics going forward. I'd like to speak about one particular site and then all the sites in general. Off and on since 1975, I've worked for the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. So I appreciate the Historical Society representatives, Ridgeland Historical Society representative. We're talking about this particular site that caused this to break into action as the future geographic center of our city. That's important, it's very important. It's adjacent to the Natchez Trace Scenic Highway, historic Old Agency Road, which is administered by the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, Choctaw Agency site, multi-purpose trail, 2 schools, church, retirement facility, and neighborhoods. We all know that. And you know the value you have at that site. I want to remind you how you sought to preserve and enhance the Jackson Street area, which I think is developing very nicely. It will be adjacent to your future city center, and it will allow for walkability and all the aspects that are in alignment with the Ridgeland Area Master Plan goals. Do not sacrifice your older historic area. This area I'm talking about, this proposed site for the Costco. And the proposals allow for convenience uses in C2 drive-throughs and that sort of thing. I see those as contrary to goal number 1, improving a relaxed small town atmosphere. That was identified as our first and most important goal through citizens' input. And I realize that you have to walk a fine line when you decide how do we keep a small town atmosphere while allowing for growth. And everybody grows. You know, that's the way we want to do. But wherever 15 acres can be put together, now we learn this can be master planned. We're not against large master plan development. We're not against retail and growth. And we want you all to seek the highest and best uses for the citizens. So, for the record, I'd like to say, in my opinion, as former chairman of the Ridgeland Area Master Plan Committee, any development with a large-scale big box store on this proposed site near the Natchez Trace would be an eventual detriment to our city and is against the recommendations put forth in the master plan. And to a larger point, the proposed text amendment and zoning changes across the city which would allow this development on this site pose a serious risk. The scale, the design, the amount of parking, the increased traffic, and so on, there are just a lot of risks. So, in conclusion, to the mayor and the board of aldermen, you are allowed to place certain restrictions and conditions on use to ensure compatibility. Well, I don't know how you do that going forward. I mean, that concerns me. We have perceived and actual misleading statements and decisions relating to this proposed Costco site and this amendment. It's all poisoned the water, y'all. And we need trust and transparency going forward, and I figure y'all can begin again. I think you can begin again. But what I'd ask you to do is to vote no on this amendment and then go back to the original zoning before June the 2nd and begin again. I don't know how. I'm not a zoning expert, and I was just a Ridgeland citizen who said yes when somebody, well, my alderman called and said, would you be on this committee? That was back to Community Awareness Committee. So that was a long time ago. And I've been busy since with other things. But this has gotten me back into action, and I want your considered votes on this to begin again. I think y'all can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Nancy, Matson.
I'm Nancy Gatson, 122 Battle Ark Lane, Ridgeland. And I do have a record with signatures on my testimony that I will submit for the record, and I'll refer to those names in my testimony. I'm Nancy Batson, a concerned resident for 37 years of Ward 1. The mayor and most of you aldermen know me because I've been up here with a small group of residents because we've been trying to preserve the old Agency Road area for a number of years, since the 1970s, the late 1970s. I'm taking this official opportunity as a citizen of Ridgeland to state the apparent lack of representation of the majority of citizens and to testify regarding preserving the heritage and historical significance of Ridgeland through responsible zoning and development. At the August 20th, 2015 town meeting hosted by the developers of Renaissance Stage 3 and representatives of Costco, I witnessed a powerful, intimidating, soft-spoken developer address the public with city officials in attendance, stating that his family had been buying land for over 60 years and that his Highland Colony development and his vision for his Highland Colony Parkway was the heritage of his family. It appears that you, the City of Ridgeland officials, are letting a developer impose his own vision of the heritage of Ridgeland through his Renaissance phases, and you are creating the pathway of zoning exceptions for him to accomplish his family heritage vision rather than following the master plan and the will of the citizens affected and who actually live here in Ridgeland. Those developers don't live here. And I'm going to interject my own person. You all think about your neighborhood where you live, Scott, and your neighborhood where you live. If this was happening to you, I'm a state employee, a retired state employee. I've invested my whole life in where I live. And I've lived there more than anybody in this room, except for Sandra Vance, who is sitting out in the lobby. And it's been one fight after the other. And we usually work well with the city and city planners to preserve the area and the heritage of Ridgeland. The development of a big box is definitely an incompatible use of land in the historical area surrounding the Natchez Trace, Old Agency Road, the Choctaw Indian Agency, and Greenwood Plantation, one of the only two remaining historic homes in Ridgeland, all of which make up the authentic heritage of Ridgeland. These natural resources and historical landmarks are the documented heritage of Ridgeland and Highland Colony Parkway, which is named for the founding colony of Ridgeland, and the development around this must reflect this heritage. Residential developers have respected the dignity and integrity of the historic area by developing subdivisions, preserving the heritage of Silas Dinsmore, and preserving the Greenwood Plantation as a focal residence in the development of beautiful homes. I am asking that you honor the master plan. Honor it. Honor the heritage of Ridgeland. And be accountable to the citizens you represent, not the developers. Stop zoning exceptions and modifications benefiting developers and utilizing zoning to protect we, the people, and the historical heritage and country-like atmosphere and integrity of the Natchez Trace, Old Agency Road, and Highland Colony Parkway bordering this area. Thank you all. And I have a small group of people who have worked very hard to protect this area, who have signed my comment, and I would like this to be of record.
Exhibit 18, we will make a copy for the court report. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, Gerald Beard.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Gerald Beard. I live at 750 Montrachet, 750 Corbin Road. You all know my history, so I won't take up a lot of your time with that, but I do want to point out I do live in this region. And notwithstanding the fact that Costco is some distance away from my home, I believe it should not be built at this site, and the reasons are as follows. I think the method used to allow it to become part of our community is wrong-headed. The manner in which the city has changed C2 zoning ordinance to allow developers to build Costco opens the door for the city to change any zoning designation as it sees fit. Who knows what a future board of Alderman and city administration may decide to do. This is a dangerous precedent, and on its face is a major policy mistake. If you are a developer, if you as a city leaders or a developer don't like the zoning of a particular site, then go through the steps of due diligence you yourselves required to be followed when you adopted the zoning ordinance in 2014. In short, abide by your own rules. Outsmarting your constituents is not good public policy. I don't think any of you aldermen individually were trying to outsmart anyone. But I do think that there is a record that tells us that outsmarting folks was going on. I do believe that. In a very lasting way, this location sets a template for all development along Highland Colony Parkway south of the Natchez Trace. We need to look at the County Line Road to see what will happen along the parkway. What is happening here is a rejection of the spirit and substance of the master plan we paid for and you adopted. From what I've heard tonight from supporters of this proposal opens up Pandora's box. How much control the city's elected officials really have on the development if this comes to pass. Fast forward 10 years, new mayor, new board, new staff, no institutional member, and no recollection as to the intent of the master plan development. How will these people be able to manage something like this? I think wisdom needs to prevail here. It would have a pronounced negative impact on existing residential neighborhoods in the immediate area, driving down property values. The volume of traffic on the parkway would increase beyond what can reasonably handle. I would caution you not to accept the traffic study paid for by the developer. Has anyone given any thought to future traffic mitigation that will be required as a result of this mistake? By calling this hearing prior to the regular schedule, or during the regular scheduled meeting of the board, you presented yourselves with an opportunity to correct a mistake made in June of last year. There's 7 decision makers in this room tonight that can make the issue go away. I ask you to do this. Vote yes in favor of Section 1 of the amendment to text to the zoning ordinance, which repeals the zoning ordinance amendment adopted on June the 2nd, 2015. Vote no against replacing the Section 21 service station definition with newly proposed language. Vote no against the Section 21 definitions of large master plan commercial development. And finally, vote no against adding Section 410-02M, large plan commercial development in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Kathy Morgan, you had said you may want to speak.
I'll rescind my request. It's repetitive.
Thank you.
Mayor, one quick thing,
Okay.
just for the record. Certainly some of my clients are claiming that some of our clients' property values will be appreciated if this amendment is passed. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that concludes the opposition's presentation. Is there a rebuttal presentation?
Nails back to your question. Mr. Drinkwater kind of pointed out to you that the master plan on page 86 states that the Costco site is zoned C2. And a careful look at that document will show that it is titled general commercial. I think eventually they agreed to that, so I don't think we're disagreeing. I would also remind you in my presentation that I gave you earlier that in the comprehensive plan, the general commercial category is clearly represented as C2, C2A, C3, and C6.
Is it consistent then with the land?
Yeah.
Are the proposed changes consistent with the land?
The large master plan commercial development designation occurs in C2. The uses that are pulled from C2A as a conditional use into C2 under the large master plan conditional or commercial designation are all in a general commercial category.
Does this proposed change turn any of the areas where this amendment would apply under C3?
The uses that are conditional in C2A appear as permitted outright in C3. And that's where I think some of the confusion lies. Mr. Austin jumped right into this site. He made the statement that these amendments don't protect the neighborhood. He wasted no time to focus his presentation on Costco, and he explained why. I think he did a good job of how he sees how that occurred in his mind. He comes at you with Santa Claus, and you know, I'll stand here and say I think you all can appreciate economic development ethics and respecting the confidentiality of economic development projects. I don't fix the zoning ordinance, as it was stated. I fixed the zoning ordinance. Community Development Department serves as a conduit to usher people through a process that is then heard through either the zoning board or this board, depending on what the request is. And I'll remind you, I think Mr. Austin indicated very clearly that Costco development may not be coming. And I think he's right. They have not made any kind of formal submittal to the city requesting to become one of these developments. So I have no site plan to review. A lot of the comments and concerns about traffic, there's nothing to offer you review comments about. Because at this time, it doesn't exist and it may not be coming. We're still talking to 2 other prospects that would like to build in excess of 100,000 square foot retail facility on more than 15 acres. And you don't have any extra controls over it that you would have if this amendment were adopted. Mr. Scruggs also wastes no time jumping right into, quote, the site, end quote, the Costco site. He drives you towards the C3 purposes, and I'm just going to remind you again to review the C2, the C2A, and the C3 purposes and understand the dynamics, understand the relationship of these uses on arterial streets as is defined in the C2A. The amendment itself does not create traffic. You have not given up your ability to properly manage traffic by the adoption of this ordinance. That's all the comments I have.
Have a question. Is the amendment needed when the Costco comes or not?
I believe so. Gives you more control.
I have a question.
Okay.
Alan?
Yes, sir.
Has the city of Ridgeland done a traffic study as far as what the impact of not just Costco, but any of these quote-unquote potential big boxes would do to Howard Common?
No, sir, that would have to come during the review of each project.
So you guys have not done that. You've not even looked down the road